Guess what, guys? Steve Dettelbach is gone. Let's go ahead and talk about it. What's up, Wolverines? Welcome back to the channel. My name is John Crump, and Steve Dettelbach is looking for a new job. Steve Dettelbach was the director of the ATF, but he has now resigned. Steve Dettelbach is a goofy-looking fella, but he also wanted to violate all your rights. Under the Dettelbach ATF, we saw stuff like pistol brace rules, bans on frames and receivers, and all sorts of anti-gun rhetoric being pushed out by the ATF to the media to demonize gun owners and guns themselves. Steve Dettelbach was no fan of guns, and he ran an organization that regulated guns, which is usually not a good thing if you are a gun owner. We all knew this was coming because there's no way in hell Trump was going to keep him on as the head of the ATF, especially since he hates firearms and he loves organizations such as Mom Demand Action, Everytown, and a bunch of other anti-freedom groups. So he is going to go back into private life, or he'll probably end up working for one of those anti-freedom organizations. But who knows, maybe he will go into private practice and just be a lawyer. We don't know until he actually goes into his next job. Maybe he'll actually learn to code. Some of my favorite moments of his past is when he cannot explain what an assault weapon is to Congress, even though he said he wanted to ban them.
I don't know enough about that. That's a definition that I'm not particularly familiar with, and I haven't studied the data on on that particular definition. I've heard comments on both sides of that, Senator. I acknowledge that's a very difficult issue. That is for this body to decide.
Is it because that there's really not a category of weapons known as assault weapons? I mean, there's rifles, there's shotguns, there's pistols. Can you go into a federally licensed firearm dealer and find the category of weapons labeled on the wall as assault weapons?
I don't believe that's a category of weapons that's labeled on the wall of retailers. It's not necessarily what retailers call it that would affect the decision of a legislative body, but no answer to your question.
So it's what politicians and lawyers in Washington call it.
Well, it would, Senator, for me, it would be what elected legislators who are charged with having these discussions and debates would choose or not choose to call it.
Okay. I think it's very telling that you're nominated to lead the ATF and you don't have a definition of assault weapon. And the point is that there is really no such thing as a category of weapons known as assault weapons.
He also went on national TV and made up a bunch of lies about ghost guns and brought a guy on the show that could not take a slide off a Glock.
So that's the frame.
That was another winner, in my opinion. Under his leadership, FFL revocations skyrocketed by 500% when he enacted a zero-tolerance policy to crack down on rogue gun dealers. This guy had no idea what he was talking about, yet he led an organization that regulated guns in this country, which is pretty pathetic because you should have some knowledge of what you're regulating. Under Dettelbach's leadership, the ATF lost countless number of court cases, which is a good thing for you or me. But probably not a good thing if you're Steve Dettelbach, which is kind of funny because he came in there saying that he was going to crack down on guns, and the only thing that got cracked down on was him. Even though that Steve Dettelbach is a thing of the past, the fight is not over. The ATF still exists, and until they are abolished, we will continue to fight. Steve Dettelbach was not a good person, and he was not a pro-gun guy by any stretch of the means, but there are people that are a lot worse, like David Chipman. Even though he didn't make it because he was so anti-gun, Steve Dettelbach came in a close second behind him as being one of the most anti-gun people ever to want to head the ATF. We will have to see who Trump picks to head the ATF, but there is one thing that is for certain. No matter who Trump picks to head the ATF, they will be a hell of a lot better than Dettelbach is. So we can say goodbye, Dettelbach. I hope the door doesn't hit you on the ass on the way out. Actually, I think I kind of do hope it does. But we'll have to see what happens from here. But this was to be expected. All right, short video. I'm going to get back to my holiday vacation. Until next time, guys, stay ever vigilant, stay ever free. If you like what I do here, like, comment, and subscribe. And Wolverines MFers.